Tonight, the hot seat.
I can't pre-commit or say, yes, I'm going in with some agenda, because I'm not.
Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett faces a congressional grilling from senators on Capitol Hill.
If I'm confirmed, you would not be getting Justice Scalia. You would be getting Justice Barrett.
Plus, vaccine delayed.
What we want to try and avoid are these massive lockdowns.
With cases surging in Europe, a new WHO warning against lockdowns to stop the spread. And
he's back. With the election 3 weeks away, President Trump's rallies return as the commander-in-chief and presidential challenger Joe Biden battle it out in the swing states.
Hello, Toledo!
All this and more tonight on Fake Nation. Supreme cross-examination. Welcome to Faith Nation, and thank you for joining us. I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Jenna Browder. Well, Supreme Court nominee Amy Coney Barrett facing a barrage of questions on day 2 of her confirmation hearings.
That's right, Jenna, and still she's given no clues as to how she would rule in key cases, including any election disputes that might find their way to the High Court. CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy joins us for tonight's top story. Ben?
Well, John and Jen, as you guys were talking about, today was round 1 of Barrett facing questions from healthcare, gun rights, abortion, and even her faith.
You're Catholic.
I am.
I think we've established that. The tenets of your faith mean a lot to you personally. Is that correct?
That is true.
You've chosen to raise your family in the Catholic faith. Is that correct?
That's true.
Can you set aside whatever Catholic beliefs you have regarding any issue before you?
I can. I have done that in my time on the 7th Circuit. If I stay on the 7th Circuit, I'll continue to do that. If I'm confirmed to the Supreme Court, I will do that still.
Now, Barrett clerked for the late Justice Scalia and said she shares his judicial philosophy. Partisan lines have been drawn over her confirmation as Republicans race to get her on the bench. Democrats say her confirmation would spell the end of the Affordable Care Act, its protections for pre-existing conditions, and could even result in the overturning of Roe v. Wade.
Do you agree with Justice Scalia's view that Roe was wrongly decided?
Senator, I completely understand why you are asking the question, but again, I can't pre-commit or say, yes, I'm going in with some agenda, because I'm not. I don't have any agenda. I have no agenda to try to overrule Casey. I have an agenda to stick to the rule of law and decide cases as they come.
The Senate Judiciary Committee will vote on Barrett's confirmation next Thursday and then open up to a full Senate vote. Republicans hope to have her on the bench a week before the election. John, Jenna?
Sadie Schlapp, former White House Director of Strategic Communications, and now with the Trump 2020 re-election campaign. It's good to see you, Mercedes. Let's talk about Judge Amy Coney Barrett's confirmation hearing. She's been getting grilled by all of these senators on the Hill for 2 days now. What do you think? How is she doing?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. You know, I, as a mother of 5, just cannot believe the amazing work that Judge Amy Coney Barrett has been able to do in these past 2 days. She's so remarkable. She is a brilliant legal mind with a stellar judicial record, academic record, someone who is beyond qualified for this job. And so being able to see her in action, she walks in with not just a blank notebook and is able to tackle the most difficult questions coming from the Democrats. And I just think that she's so incredibly confident and obviously filled with the Holy Spirit. And she, as she herself said, she is so eternally grateful for those praying for her. And she believes in the power of prayer, which I think is such a strong message for all of us who are praying for Judge Barrett to be confirmed in the next few weeks.
Mercedes, we saw it on day 1 and now on day 2. Democrats have been focused on the Affordable Care Act with an eye on a case to be heard right after the November 3rd election. Mercedes, if confirmed, is it possible that Barrett's ruling could strike down a key portion of that health care law?
You know, I don't want to talk about a hypothetical here, but I know, as Judge Barrett has mentioned very clearly, that she would not prejudge the case before her on the Supreme Court if she were a justice. She's made it very clear what her judicial philosophy is at this time. And, you know, she has pretty kept with the Justice Ginsburg standard, which is that of not prejudging the case.
This Affordable Care Act that's coming up before the Supreme Court after the election, it has given Democrats a pretty big talking point. Mercedes, was it a mistake, or has it been a mistake for the president and the White House to be out publicly touting it?
Not at all. Look, I think the president and his team made the right decision because at the end of the day, we need to know the constitutionality of the Obamacare law. As we know, the Democrats rushed that through quickly. You know, we know that the president has been able to get rid of the individual mandate, which was a very big win for Americans. And so in essence, if there's any changes that need to be made to the law, it's not in the court system, it's not in the judicial system, it's in the legislative body. That's why we have Congress. Congress is where you make the changes to the law.
Mercedes, finally, Democrats seem to be treading very lightly on the issue of Judge Coney Barrett's faith. Why do you think they are backtracking on this issue, whereas we've heard them in the past really aggressively address it?
Well, first of all, I think that we saw the horrible character assassination that the Democrats attempted on Justice Brett Kavanaugh. And that was one of, I think, when I was at the White House, it was definitely one of the hardest chapters of the White House, having to see one of my dear friends, Brett, being completely they're trying to destroy him and his family. And I think with Amy, it's a different story. I think the fact that she is such a devout Christian, the fact that she is a loving mother of 7, she has a great story to tell, in addition to just being an incredibly qualified judge. And so I think the Democrats are treading carefully. But as Judge Barrett has made very clearly, her faith is not going to in any way influence the decisions on these cases. I mean, a judge's job is to interpret the law, and that is exactly what she's going to do.
Well, Mercedes, we are out of time. Mercedes Schlapp with the Trump 2020 campaign, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Well, turning now to the COVID crisis, tonight a pause in the development of a vaccine.
And this coming as coronavirus cases surge across dozens of states. And warnings, things will only get worse as winter approaches.
CBN's Eric Phillips has the latest. Eric?
And Jenna, despite all of that concern for the reasons you just mentioned, tonight a warning from the World Health Organization that locking down states and communities should not be the first or main response in fighting this illness.
Johnson & Johnson, one of the 9 front-runners developing a COVID vaccine, is pausing a stage 3 trial after one of the participants became unexplainably ill. Last month, AstraZeneca halted its vaccine trials for the same reason. That accounts for half of the vaccines currently in stage 3 trials in the U.S. This, combined with recent surges and daily cases topping 50,000, led to a dire warning from infectious disease expert Dr. Anthony Fauci.
We're in a bad place now. We've got to turn this around.
Also concerning, according to the Lancet Medical Journal, there's now evidence that COVID can be caught more than once, as documented in the case of a 25-year-old Nevada man with no underlying conditions.
It's quite possible that you could get it again, and that infection could be as serious or more serious than the first infection.
The uptick in numbers is also being experienced in the UK and other parts of the world.
These figures are flashing at us like dashboard warnings in a passenger jet, and we must act now.
The World Health Organization stressing that in spite of the surges, lockdowns should not be used as a primary means of virus control, rather surveillance, tracking, and education.
But what we want to try and avoid are these massive lockdowns that are so punishing to communities, to society, and to everything else.
It's why Dr. Deborah Birx with the Coronavirus Task Force is traveling the country with a message of prevention, particularly as families plan for the holidays.
This virus can spread among families and friends if you take your mask off and you're primarily indoors.
And late breaking this afternoon, U.S. health regulators paused Eli Lilly's late-stage trial and its leading antibody treatment for coronavirus because of health concerns. More developments consecutively coming in, John and Jenna.
And here with us now is Dr. Jen Ashton, the chief medical correspondent for ABC News. Dr. Ashton, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
Dr. Johnson & Johnson announced a delay in vaccine trials after a subject in the study became sick. How concerning is this development?
I don't think it's concerning at all. Actually, I think it's exactly the way people should see science and medicine and phase 3 clinical trials working. First of all, there's transparency, which is exactly what we want to see and what we need to see in terms of this vaccine development. And you have to remember that safety is paramount. So Johnson & Johnson enrolling 60,000 volunteers in this stage of the clinical trials. It is not unexpected to see an unexplained adverse effect. They need to see whether it even occurred in the group that got the real vaccine versus placebo. That hasn't been revealed or released yet. They're looking into it. And I think it should be incredibly reassuring that this vaccine will be ready when it is proven not just effective, but safe, and not one day earlier than that. And this is Johnson & Johnson doing its appropriate clinical and scientific job.
Dr. Ashton, so 33 states right now are seeing a rise in cases of COVID-19. Could this be due to better testing capabilities, or is it just a sign of a second wave?
According to all epidemiologists and public health officials, this is absolutely not due to increased testing. We look at the test positivity rate to tell us that who's being tested. If you're only testing the patients who are sick or symptomatic, that can be reflected in a test positivity rate. And according to the trends and the epidemiologists, these are true increases largely related to a loosening of people's aggressive behavior, which is understandable with quarantine and pandemic fatigue. But we have to remember this is a marathon, not a sprint, and our behavior has been shown to be directly impactful on how this virus spreads.
Dr. Ashton, the WHO is warning against large-scale lockdowns. Does this at all imply that lockdowns were a mistake?
Well, that is a very complicated question, and you really can't answer that in a one-size-fits-all approach. Different states, different countries, you know, it may be more or less appropriate than for others. But if things are out of control and hospitals are underwater and you can't get treatment for a heart attack or a car accident because every bed is filled by a patient sick with COVID-19, that's a true emergency. So I think only hindsight can tell us whether or not lockdowns were important, reasonable, effective. We do know that they bought us time here in this country, but whether or not other countries go back to lockdowns, we've already started to see that across Europe and in Israel as well, but every country's response will be different.
All right, Dr. Jen Ashton with ABC News, it's always good to have you. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Meanwhile, tonight the FBI says an anti-government group was looking at the governor of Virginia as a possible kidnapping target. The group charged last week with a plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer was also looking at kidnapping Virginia's Ralph Northam. The FBI alerted Governor Northam's security team during the investigation. The Democratic governor and other officials were targeted because of coronavirus lockdown orders, according to the FBI. Coming up, the president returns to the campaign trail as he and Joe Biden battle it out in swing states.
Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, you know, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Or
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Welcome back. Well, John, Election Day now exactly 3 weeks away, and already more than 10 million people have voted either in person or by mail.
And Jenna, as President Trump recovers from COVID, his team is working to put him on the road every day between now and then. Washington correspondent Tara Mergener has more.
President Trump and Joe Biden are trying to gain ground in the home stretch. Today, the president is in Pennsylvania. Biden is in Florida, where the president made his first campaign stop last night. USA! USA! Tossing masks.
It's great to be back.
Joking with a crowd of supporters.
I'll walk into that audience. I'll walk in there. I'll kiss everyone in that audience.
And praising his Supreme Court nominee.
Amy is fantastic, a great intellect, a great scholar. I think she's going to be a fantastic U.S. Supreme Court justice.
In 2016, the Sunshine State was decided by just 113,000 votes.
Hello, Toledo!
Hundreds of miles away, a much tamer crowd in Ohio, welcoming the former VP from their cars as Biden insists he's the grown-up in the race.
The longer Donald Trump is president, the more reckless he seems to get.
Voting is already underway in 45 states, including Virginia, where today a cut fiber optic cable shut down multiple state websites, affecting thousands on the state's last day to register to vote, in turn forcing many voters to use paper forms. In Washington, I'm Tara Mergener, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Tara. We'll hear now from more as CBN News chief political analyst David Brody. David, you have some new reporting on Trump campaign ad buys on Christian radio and TV. Can you tell us what you've learned?
Jenna, going up on Christian radio and also conservative radio. So, for example, they have the Salem Radio Network and Bott Radio Network. Those are many of the Christian stations you'll hear these new Trump campaign ads on, but also Rush Limbaugh and Sean Hannity and Hugh Hewitt and all those others as well. And they take aim specifically at the fact that Donald Trump has delivered for Christians and the fact that Joe Biden is in with the radical left. So they're trying to make the pitch to Christians on Christian radio, six-figure buy. We should point out that the Biden campaign had a seven-figure buy earlier this month. So both sides playing for keeps when it comes to the faith vote in 2020.
David, a new Pew study released today finds white Christians favor Trump over Biden. That's nothing new from 2016. But this report shows that support has slipped. Should that worry the Trump campaign?
Well, Jenna, I think at this point, everything should worry the Trump campaign at this point because there's so many bad omens out there. But then again, and I've said this all along, every single indicator shows that Trump could potentially lose and maybe even lose big. And so maybe the prediction should be that Trump's going to win. Who knows? Trump may win in a landslide at this point. No one has any idea. But here's the thing about the evangelical number. 78% is the number in terms of white evangelical Protestants that support the president now. Everybody would say, hey, that's a pretty good number. Yeah, but you had 81% in 2016. And the Pew number back in August, that same poll, was at 83%. So that's the dip, 83% to 78%. My sense is it's probably right around 80%. I don't think the 78% is right. I don't think the 83% was right. I think that was a little too high as well. A lot of it is a snapshot in time, and that makes a big difference.
David, earlier you mentioned the Trump ad buy, six-figure ad buy. There's a bipartisan Christian group called Not Our Faith, which is out with a six-figure ad buy. It's a super PAC opposing Donald Trump's reelection, saying that he's invoked Christian faith for, quote, his own purposes. Could this be enough to help move the dial in about 30 seconds or so?
Well, remember, white Catholics is our key swing group, and that's what this group is going to focus on. And by the way, can we just get this on the record? Bipartisan group. Michael Ware is running this, former Obama faith guy, and we know Michael from this program. And the bipartisanship is a former staffer from Tom DeLay from 25 years ago who was a Republican. So, I mean, you know, not necessarily a bigwig in evangelical circles that we would take note of. So bipartisan is a little misleading. Bottom line is anything can make a difference at this point.
All right. CBN's David Brody. Thank you so much, David, for being with us.
Thanks, guys.
And when we come back, why Democrats are staying away from attacks on Amy Coney Barrett's deeply held religious beliefs.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy?
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times best-selling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain, get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
A legal scholar and former official in the Bush Justice Department says Amy Coney Barrett's hearings so far leave him cautiously optimistic.
John Yoo explains why he's hopeful Democrats may not wage war on Barrett's deeply held religious faith. Here's his conversation with CBN's Paul Strand.
I think that the Democrats are making a mistake trying to say this is all about health care. Health care is not going to be one of the most important issues that a Justice Barrett's going to face in her long career. The health care case doesn't even really call on major constitutional issues at this point.
I know that today not much came up about her religion, her deep Catholic faith, but are you worried, based on what happened to her in her hearings 3 years ago for the Seventh Circuit, that that may come up? And what do you think she should say?
I hope that today's initial salvos show that the Democrats have decided to put such a terrible line of questioning aside, but you can't be sure. 3 years ago, as you say, this was raised as the primary issue against her confirmation, that her religious faith, her deep faith to Catholicism would somehow influence the way she voted in cases. And so I hope that she will get up and just say exactly what John F. Kennedy said when he ran for president in 1960, that he's an American public service servant first, he's a Catholic second, that he takes an oath to uphold and support the Constitution, not to import his or her religious beliefs into their public duties. And I think Judge Barrett has been very clear that's what she would do. And I hope that Democratic senators change course and don't follow that path again.
Back on this Affordable Care Act thing, I understand that there's a good chance that this case really may not have anything to do with wiping out the entire act. Could you tell us a little bit about severability?
Even though you might strike down parts of the Obamacare law, that doesn't mean the whole statute is unconstitutional.
And Obamacare doesn't have to be the only health care plan ever put forth by Congress, and they could jump right back in there no matter what the court does, correct?
Yes, the most important thing is this is up to Congress. Even if the Barrett joins the Supreme Court, even if they rule on the constitutionality of different parts of Obamacare, that's not a policy decision on whether it's a good idea or a bad idea to have a nationwide health care system. That's still up to Congress. And Barrett should, and I think she did in her opening statement, make clear it's not her job to decide on what's a good policy or bad policy. She's just there to call balls and strikes on what's constitutional or not, and let the Congress and the president, whoever it may be after these November elections, decide on what the best healthcare system is for Americans.
I am Regent's first ROTC graduate student.
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres-Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. And watch God transform a generation.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
And finally tonight, determined, grace, and strength. Those are a few of the words the McCain family used to describe Roberta, the mother of the late Senator John McCain.
Now, Roberta died peacefully in her home on Monday at 108 years old. Daughter-in-law Cindy said she couldn't have asked for a better role model and friend. And granddaughter Megan said she wished her own daughter could have met Roberta. And we think we have a soundbite we want to play. Let's go ahead and hear that. And Roberta will be buried next to her husband in Arlington National Cemetery.
A life well lived. Thanks for watching Faith Nation.
Have a great evening.